What's going on, everybody? Special guest here. It's Brendan Tobin, 790 The Ticket, and his YouTube channel. Definitely check that out. What's going on, Brendan?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I want to get into some crossover content. Miami Dolphins, Miami Hurricanes, a lot of interesting stuff over the years. You know, a lot of people are fans of both teams. Let's get right into it. We'll get into some NFL draft stuff, how that looks for the Dolphins. But Jason Taylor, joins the Miami staff, kind of this defensive analyst, kind of this role. What was your reaction to that? Is that something you kind of envisioned for him at some point in his career?
I was a little surprised, to be honest with you. I thought that, obviously I know his kids are starting to get to the age where they're moving into college and they're getting recruited by big time schools and things like that. But, he had a pretty successful run doing the high school football stuff down here. I thought it was pretty cool that he decided to, grab onto Mario Cristobal's staff as an advisor or whatever. They've already had Ed Reed in the fold there, which is, obviously a lot of Canes fans love down here. But to have somebody who still means a lot here to the community, and obviously is a Dolphins legend, I was surprised by it for sure. I know that I was probably in the dark more so than others were that it was going to happen. I just think it shows that this program definitely has the true attention of a lot of people, how serious they are about winning, because I don't think Jason Taylor puts his name to something or jumps onto something if he doesn't think it's for real.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not a former player, so it's not that obvious tie that he's definitely just going to be linked up with there. And one of the things, just kind of watching him out there, he's very, he's not just a figurehead. He's teaching always. He's always talking. He's always doing things. He's, just seems to have a good voice. Is that part of his game that you saw with the Dolphins? Obviously, on-field production was definitely a high point for him. But is that something that's kind of just been in him?
Yeah, super competitive guy too. Like that's always been a thing. Even like when he was in the booth, a lot of the guys who produce the broadcasts that I work with have told me like he's sitting there watching a high school film while the broadcasts are going on. So this guy's very ingrained into teaching and coaching the young talent that he's around. So I think that's another good thing too. Is he's probably got good knowledge of what this pipeline is like and things around what this whole part of the state has been through in high school football, how people feel about the Canes, why people may want to come here now. But the dedication to his craft, I mean, this wasn't a highly touted prospect. He was a lower round draft pick who really made himself into something special. And I think that always carries with them. A lot of those guys, carry that edge with them if they feel like they've been overlooked.
So there are a couple former Hurricanes currently on the Dolphins, starting with Jaelan Phillips. First round pick, so obviously bringing in a lot of, attention and expectations. What'd you make of his season? There's a lot of interesting things that Jaelan did that first year, but what would you kind of make of his rookie year there?
I thought he finished really, really strong. They definitely were trying to put a lot on his plate early on. And he mentioned that just everything that from, coverage and standing up to hand in the ground and things like that. So I think that there was definitely some struggle early on and probably just learning the speed of the game, everything that they wanted to do. But, it's tough for him because this was a defense last year that just struggled out of the gate. So I think everybody was kind of trying to find their identity. Now you become you're in your first year and they're in the midst of a long losing streak. And there's controversy surrounding the team always because of Deshaun Watson and Tua Tagovailoa. So I think for Jaelan, it was really great to see him, get that production up, and also was really contributing to winning because it was kind of in line with as soon as he started up in the pressure and this team really became more of an attack defense as the season went on and their win streak got through. He was a big part of that. I would say though, like probably out of all the guys last year, Waddle's getting all of the praise because he had the records, and even Javon Holland, who got taken on. I think everybody thinks like he's almost a finished product and think he should be talked about amongst the best safeties. So I think that there's a little bit of him getting overshadowed by other guys that were in his draft class. But I think that's okay because pass rush was not an easy one to just step in and have that immediate impact. And I don't think there's this need for him to go out there and be, a 17 sack guy right in year two, because they did bring back Emmanuel Ogbah. If they didn't bring back Ogbah, I think the spotlight would have gone on Jaelan a lot quicker. But because, he gets his guy on the other side there, I do think that it's okay if it's a slow, gradual climb. But we saw, picking up 7 sacks basically on the back half of the year, this guy can get it up in numbers and really can produce some impact plays.
Those 7 sacks coming during that 7-game winning streak. Had 5 in back-to-back weeks against the Giants and the Panthers. Finished with 8.5 sacks, earns that all rookie team recognition from a lot of people there. What was he doing well? You touched on the adjustments that he kind of made or kind of went through. What was he doing well? And then also, Brendan, just moving forward for Jaelan, kind of what's next, with him and his career.
I think it was just a question of, he is a physical specimen. And by the way, super nice dude. Like the guy is just as cordial as it gets with anybody that he seems to come across. But I think it was just a question of getting used to the physicality of the game. I think that maybe some moves that were working for him in the ACC didn't necessarily pan out. So there was some learning there, and you just saw, I think, by the end of it, like, okay, now we're starting to see the special athlete that this guy is and why he was popping up. And there was it was tough too because he had the who's the guy up in Buffalo, escapes my mind,
with Rousseau.
Rousseau. Yeah, Rousseau got off to such a crazy start and such a crazy hot start. Like that was another thing, is everybody's like, oh, see, they which former Cane should they have gone with. And so I think that he took all that in stride. He seemed like he was okay with the pressure of all of that, but for him to really be a big part of what they were doing when the turnaround of the season happened, I think you saw that he was getting up to the speed of the game, that he could be a big time contributor. And I expect him to hit the ground running this season. I think that he's going to do some pretty big things.
And Sheldrick Redwine, coming into his 5th season in the NFL, just obviously a different role with Jaelan on this team. Just how does he kind of fit in? Kind of going off his first year or his last year there with the Dolphins. Just kind of what's the take on Sheldrick and how he fits in?
I don't know if there's going to be a ton of pressure on him to have a big role, because they are very, very pleased with their 2 young safeties that they got in Holland. They the world of this guy. Brandon Jones, I think, is really solidified in what he can do in the blitz game. There's a little bit of question on what he could do with the coverage part of it. So, but it's just, it takes maybe one of those guys. If one of those guys goes down, like, you never know when those opportunities are going to come for Sheldrick. Like, I think that's one of the things where it's a lot like Duke Johnson from last year, where we had like the situation of, man, they really need a running back. And then you have this awesome story of Duke Johnson popping onto the scene, and he looks like the best guy that they've had in the backfield all season. And a lot of people were bummed that they didn't even bring him back, because it was like, they had the cool story of him getting to ball in his college stadium and then do it for the Dolphins. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So you never quite know what's going to happen when it comes to that with Sheldrick. So it doesn't look like he's going to be like maybe a main contributor right away, because they feel pretty solidified in that spot. But you never know. It's the NFL. Like, things can get crazy, and maybe they do need a lot more out of him.
Yeah, the Duke Johnson story, not just that he was out there, but like you said, being productive. That was a lot of fun to cover there late in the year and kind of watch him there. NFL draft, the Miami Dolphins, they have 4 draft picks going into it, 3rd round, 4th, and 2 7ths. Starts there on, this week with a 3-day event. Miami's got a lot of guys that are, draft eligible. They're not the top line guys. Are they going to get picked? Are they not? Just your thoughts on, are there any of those Miami guys that stand out to you that maybe the Dolphins could look at?
It's a tough one to know, just because Chris Greer was talking about this last week, is that they really feel like this is a situation where they're not going to take a lot of big swings, they feel like, because that they're in this spot of having so few picks, that they're going to be in a much safer route. So I would say, like, if you look onto them, like, where do they still need to make a lot of moves? Still, yeah, you would want some reinforcements there on the O-line. Mostly, I would say probably in the interior, because you aren't quite sure of what they got there. They're going to be doing a lot of shifting around because they brought in Teron Armstead this year. And so, is there something there that would be there? I don't know. And then linebacker too, I mean, is one of those spots. So it's going to be interesting to see where the chips fall. I think that this would be one of those things where they're kind of maybe not even going purely off a knee, where they may just take highest guy on the board and, deal with that, because they obviously spent so much draft capital going into this one.
You touched on offensive line. So Miami's got a couple guys maybe to watch for, and then with these guys too, obviously, if they don't get drafted, potential undrafted free agent possibilities. Offensive lineman, the tackle, Jared Williams. He was a guy I thought showed good signs at Miami. And then Navon Donaldson, as well as an interior guard guy. Miami's offensive guys, potential draftees, the wide receivers with Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley, running back Cameron Harris, and then De'Aaron King's kind of this interesting one at quarterback, maybe a receiver with De'Aaron. Just maybe your thoughts on De'Aaron NFL potential, especially we've seen this in the NFL, kind of some guys that can play the different roles there. Your thoughts on De'Aaron?
Well, I think the thing that I love about him is the fact that he I think recognized, like I think the thing that's cool with De'Aaron is that he just had such self-awareness that if he did tell people that he was going to purely be a quarterback, that maybe they wouldn't be ringing as much, but to see that he was kind of willing to open the door, because I think that's the thing that's important, is like, as long as you get picked up by a team, maybe they see him do a couple things in practice once he's under their roof. I think that's that showed a really, it was a smart tactic by him and whoever's representing him, just because I think that you show that versatility. I mean, we saw how explosive he was and what he means to winning. I mean, it's so important. He just felt like in so many ways he was just carrying Miami when he was at his peak. And so I'm sure, devastating to see what happened to him last year. And especially it felt like a lot of Canes fans just kind of forgot about him in a lot of ways because of everybody drooling over Tyler Van Dyke, which, as I am as well, because everybody knows that that TVD looks like he's going to be something really, really special and impressive. But, with De'Aaron, you just are so impressed by the way that he carried himself as a leader, as in a lot of ways, a guy who felt like he was, carrying a lot of things on his own. And then, I mean, Rambo is just fantastic, dude. This guy, you never quite know, like when you're getting one of these big program cast off kind of guys, what are they going to do with you? And I just thought he flourished in every which way, super explosive, a devastating weapon all the way around. So I think both of those guys, I think for De'Aaron, the willingness to kind of do it all just to make it in the league, I think people will like that. And I think that he's got the fortitude and kind of has been through so much drama already in his career with having to move schools and things like that, that he seems like a guy who's got the character made for this. And Rambo I just think the guy's an all-time stud. Really, really good.
Yeah. Brendan, NFL wise, just those undrafted guys or even late draft pick, what's kind of the key, you think, for those guys? You touched on a guy like De'Aaron just kind of getting in and being, kind of adjusting as well as possible. What do you think is kind of the key if these guys don't get picked up, but to actually find their name on a roster, either with the Dolphins or with another team?
I think a lot of the times it's just like, you got to find the situation where they may need you, like you don't even think that, maybe it wasn't the ideal thing because nobody wants to go undrafted. But the thing that's good about it, I remember I produced Brett Romberg's show for a very, very long time. And, he would say like, listen, nobody wants to have that. It was like the worst day. He's like, in a lot of ways, it was the worst day in my life because I didn't get picked, but you do kind of get to put yourself in a position where you do feel better about yourself. You get to go inside a better organization, and then eventually you might get picked up, and somebody will hear about you, and somebody will feel good about you. So that's the thing that I think is key for these guys, is get themselves in a team and a franchise where there feels like there's a little bit of belief. You can't make too many mistakes because they don't have that much of an investment in you. But I think that with De'Aaron, he feels like he's just got such the work ethic that if we see any portion of the talent of the guy before he got hurt, I feel like that's a guy that will find a way to succeed at some level in the NFL.
So NFL draft certainly going to be exciting. Thursday with round 1, Friday goes 2 and 3, and then it finishes up 4 through 7 there on Saturday. The Dolphins have drafted 4 Hurricanes in the last 20 years. We touched on Jaelan Phillips last year, Vernon Carey, Lamar Miller, Olivier Vernon, they're the other 3. So we'll see how this kind of shapes up. I know people are excited to see if that ever happens. Over the years, it's certainly been an interesting topic. But anyways, Brendan, I'll let you get going. Your time is valuable. I appreciate you dropping in, talking some Dolphins Canes here on this crossover contest. So take it easy, man.
You too, man. Thank you so much for having me.